Welcome back to another episode of Boom or Bust, your home for NFL Draft Talk. I'm your host, Terry, and today, final thoughts on the linebackers, including pass rushers and rushbackers of the 2018 NFL Draft Class. I'm too excited. 4 days away. It is so close. The first round's going to kick us off. Then I'll probably miss most of the first round because I'll be at the movies, but I will be hunkering down the rest of the time to watch the rest of the draft. I can't wait. So anyway, go to the linebackers. So this group, I like most of these groups, and if you listen to these, you get a thought of my, or you get start to see a little bit into my thoughts on the draft class. And this group, is pretty decent. Now, I've said it before, I measure the position by grading the top level talent out of 5. I grade the depth out of 5, and I average the 2. And for this group, I'm giving it a C+. And yeah, this is actually more the depth of the position than the top level talent. The top level talent is really, really, really good for the linebackers. The traditional backers, but the stack, or the pass rushers, those aren't as high. But you got a couple in there. It's the depth though that really kills it, because after that first tier of talent, you're looking at, maybe 1 or 2 interesting sleepers, and the rest are pretty average players. So, tough year. It's a tough year, but it's not bad in the first round to get some defenders. So, not absolutely horrible. C+ isn't, too bad. But, yeah, just overall, I think it's a interesting group. Linebacker is a position I've talked about this year as, one of the ones that's changed a lot in the college game. And I would say, this year you got a good mix of, old school and new school, where it's not just the, undersized, athlete running around, and it's not just the, old school, thumper either. It's a good blend of both when you talk about Roquan Smith and Tremaine Edmonds and, Rashaan Evans and all these guys, where you get to see a little bit of the old school mentality with the, new school athleticism. So pretty cool to see. It's going to make for some, very valuable prospects. Now, pass rusher, unfortunately, is not the same. Now, if we were just talking about that group alone, it's a very different class than it was in the previous years, where you had a number of guys or number of prospects coming out. And I mentioned in my D-line video that, you just used to have, usually you're used to having these converted athletes that they put on the edge in college and turn them into pass rushers. And there are these prospects coming out, these height, weight, speed prospects. And you don't really have a whole bunch of that this year. There's definitely DNs that can be converted to outside backers. And every year you don't have a lot of pure outside rush backers where they're actually linebackers and they're not just DNs standing up. So that's not new, but like I said, at least you have some athletic projects, and this year you don't have too many of those. So, but you do have in Landry and Carter 2 actual linebackers, more so Carter, that have to play, setting the edge, have to rush the passer, have some coverage responsibilities, things that, actual linebackers have to do, not just glorified DNs. So, interesting group. But, as far as some of the guys I really like, of course, I like the guys up top, Tremaine Edmonds and, Roquan. Won't spend too much on them, but one guy that I really, really, really like is Vander Ash out of Boise State. Going to be interesting. He's a big dude, 6'4", 250 plus, so has a elite amount of size that you don't usually see in linebackers. But when you watch the tape, he did pretty well. There's some athleticism, question marks for him for me. I think in short area, he still moves pretty well. He's got super loose hips, so he can open up pretty well. Now, what's his explosion in speed downhill or sideline to sideline? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think he is that sideline to sideline linebacker naturally. I think he gives good effort, has a great motor, and will chase down plays. But I don't think he naturally is just a chase linebacker that'll go from sideline to sideline. But as traditional linebackers do, he makes up for that with his play recognition and ability to diagnose the play and be in the right spot. So I'm really excited to see what he does, because he's a physical guy, big guy, and he does kind of the things that you want to see, at least for me. And that's number one. He is physical, taking on blocks. He doesn't just get covered up and get pushed out of the play. He actually is able to take on blocks and defeat blocks. He's able to get physical receivers and tight ends and knows how to beat them up off the line, which is becoming a lost art, to be honest with you. And we wonder why so many tight ends and whatnot run free so quickly down the seam. He's not a big blitzer, but I do like his coverage ability. Again, those hips, he's able to get out, but he's aware and he looks for routes. So really excited about Vander Ash. I mean, I think with the athletic ability of Roquan and Tremaine, you can't, put them lower than Vander Ash. But I would interesting to see how people in the draft will rank him, because I think he is just every bit as good of a linebacker. Maybe not an athlete, but I think he's every bit as good of a linebacker. And then after him, well, I guess that's more of a sleeper, so I'll wait on that one. But as far as pass rushers, I really like Lorenzo Carter, and I wouldn't say he's a sleeper, but I think at this point, before 4 days for the draft, everybody knows he's going to be the number 2 pass rusher taken. And so Lorenzo Carter out of Georgia, as I mentioned before, had to play in a system where he was asked to do a lot of those traditional things as far as playing in coverage, as far as, setting the edge or spying or, checking people's release and then blitzing, all those things. And so I really always appreciate when you have a guy who's done that, because it's different to take a guy that's just been a dog let loose off the chain and go after the quarterback and try to fit him into a traditional defense. It's always different doing that than taking somebody who's had experience. It's just like a quarterback going from a spread to a full pro style system. And so you tend to value guys that have already had experience in it. And so Lorenzo showed a lot of ability there, but I do think if you get him to a team that kind of has a good rotation, you could use him as a third down rush specialist early on until he gets, into a groove. And that's only going to help him, get better at pass rushing. Cause right now, I think he's good at everything. Pass rushing, run game, coverage, all that. But I don't think he's great at anything. And the one thing you want to be at least really, really good at is pass rush. So he's got a lot to grow into, but I think he also brings a lot of experience day one as well. So then talking about some of the more riskier guys out there and question marks, and I'm gonna go over to Oboe Okorankwo from Oklahoma. That's a lot of O's, but Oboe as they call him. He is such a tweener, man. You know what? I think for me, I project him as moving to a more traditional stack linebacker. And the way people play with formations these days, it's easy to see a situation where he is playing linebackers first and second down. If you want to use him as a blitzer, definitely use him as a blitzer. And then third down, when you get those funky formations where you mugging the double A gap and bringing people up, showing the blitz look, whatever, I think that's when you can put him on the outside and let him go get it. But to be a full-time rusher out there on the edge against these long limb tackles at 6'1", I just don't see it. And he has a good get off. I'll give him that most definitely. And he has the dog mentality to go after the quarterback. But, I don't see him living on the edge at that height. And then on top of that, being a linebacker, he's really stiff in his hips. So how effective will he be at linebacker? I don't know. So he might be regulated to a sub package linebacker, for blitzing purposes early on. So I just don't know what his ceiling is going to be. It's real tough for me. Then stand on that track. You got, Kamoko Torea, who isn't really huge on the radar to begin with. But I think, as we get closer and people seeing him in the Senior Bowl, they might talk about him. But I think he's more a risky guy. He's got more traditional size, 6'5", 252, all that good stuff. He just was a 1-year starter. He was more situational before, this year. And he never put it together. A lot of people think that, he might go undrafted, but I think the lack of pass rushers plus what he was able to put on display in the Senior Bowl, he's going to go late round. But he's definitely a flyer to me. He's a project where you're taking him with low investment because I don't know how much he's going to be able to give you on the return because, you're not sure if he has the strength to play at the next level. And again, if you're not next level strong, then you would usually want a next level athlete. And for him, I just don't see it. As far as linebackers, Micah Kiser, a lot of people like out of Virginia. He's very one-dimensional, very stiff, very slow, very much a downhill thumper type. And, it's tough in this day and age. Unless you just really hurting for linebackers, it's tough to see a traditional middle linebacker thumper be out there with no athleticism. Because you think of like a Manti Te'o or Denzel Perryman or, some of these guys that are first and second down linebackers, but they still have some type of athleticism. And Kiser just doesn't have any of that. He's just a stiff board that goes one way. And so, very risky to me. Not a big fan of him. And, you know what? I hate to say this, but it's true. I would say Josie Joel out of Iowa is risky. Not that I don't like him, just risky. And it's tough because he has very, very, very loose hips. Very good change of direction. He's just not fast. He's not fast at all. And so he's not fast. He's not explosive where he can give you some type of blitz, added value. He's not. He's quick in short area. He could get out to these zones and he's a great linebacker. He's smart. Absolutely. He does a whole bunch of stuff. He just isn't an athlete at the next level that you want to see. And so he's all floor. He's all intangibles and, technique. He just lacks the athleticism. So taking him, he could be more like I was saying that Manti Te'o type first and second down linebacker, but I just don't think his ceiling is very high. And then, the one guy I will point out that is a sleeper for me, and that's Jerome Baker out of Ohio State. I love Jerome Baker. I think he is being just severely underrated and going into this draft because the thing with Baker, he's built more like a safety, some people say, but he's played linebacker. He's got the attitude of a linebacker. You could put on some weight. And then not only that, you got guys like Telvin Smith and guys in the league that are playing at this weight anyway. Matter of fact, he weighs as much as, Roquan Smith did playing at Georgia. And that's the double standard. You could be built different, but it's like, oh man, he looks like a safety, but Roquan's fine. They weighed around the same weight. And so that's the thing is how you built. But anyway, but he plays like a safety, as in that he mans up with receivers in the slot and plays them man coverage downfield and does it well. Like there's tape of him taking people downfield on vertical or post routes. And it's not like, he's covering running backs. No, on third down, they bump him out like a nickel corner or a nickel safety, and he's playing people in man coverage. He's got high level coverage ability, extremely high level, and he's got high level speed. I think he ended up running either low 4.5s or 4.4, high 4.4s. So not as fast as like Ryan Shazier or nothing, but he's fast. He's a fast cat. And, I think he can do a lot of good things. Like I said, with coverage, of course, he's explosive as a blitzer, but I do think he does well in the run game. Now, a lot of people say, okay, the knock on him is his strength, which is true, but he takes on blocks well. And I read a lot of people that said he doesn't, and you gotta watch it. The man knows how to slip blocks in open space. Like, he's not gonna come wreck a blocker or blow him up, but is more than one way to get off of blocks. And so he avoids blocks, but not to the point where he takes himself out of play or out of his gap. So if a lineman's climbing up to block Baker, you better be under control, because he's going to break your ankles. He's going to get under your block. He's going to juke right off of you. But he also has good hand play too. So when you got guys that are balanced and looking to shoot at him, he's got really fast, quick timing hands where you can slap him away, get out the way, and go make a play. And so, yes, you want him to get stronger in ability to physically control blocks, but that doesn't mean he can't handle blocks on the next level. So I'm really excited about Jerome Baker, to be honest. I think he's a huge sleeper, and I can't wait to see where he ends up going. All right, so that's my group. Go ahead and let me know in the comment section what you think about the linebacker crew this year. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around, and thank you for listening.